Yeah, so I don't want to say exactly what it is because I'm still trying to get the patent. I haven't gotten the patent yet. It's such a good
Yes.
name. So I can't
Wonderful.
say
Don't
yet or
say
what.
it. Guys, welcome to Chasing Dragons. I'm your host, Noah Chrysler. This is a show where I dive deep with creative entrepreneurs to uncover the dragons that they're chasing, their ambitions, their challenges, and the beliefs that shape their journey. We don't just talk about business, we explore what drives them, what holds them back, and how they can break through to the next level. Today, my guest is Jenny Hoyos. Jenny, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for this conversation. It's going to be amazing.
Me too. I'm stoked. Cool. Jenny, I've written a short intro for you here, and I've also kind of borrowed from your website, if that's okay. Do you mind if I read it off quick?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it.
Here we go. Jenny is a YouTube sensation. You're a sensation. You've heard that before.
Wow.
With over 8.5 million subscribers and billions of views across her content, she's the queen of YouTube Shorts. Her goal is to educate young audiences on responsible spending while promoting creative, budget-friendly solutions. She values creativity, innovation, generosity, and integrity in her content and her business ventures. Whether she's saving money through clever savings hacks or is brightening someone's day through a random act of kindness, Jenny infuses her message of mindful budgeting with positivity. Beyond YouTube, she's a TED speaker, a business strategist, and a mentor to creators and brands looking to level up their content. Jenny Hoyos is paving the way for the new generation of content creators, shaping the future and helping others do the same. Jenny, welcome to Chasing Dragons.
That was an amazing intro. I love it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Cool. Brief overview of what has happened so far and kind of the plan for the conversation. Cool. So before this interview, I had you complete a short ChatGPT interview, which you absolutely slayed, by the way. You did a great
Thank
job
you.
at that. And so basically from that, we kind of discovered some things that you're currently working on. And I think there are about 4 different things I really wanted to touch on in today's conversation. The first one is scaling beyond YouTube Shorts. You mentioned that that's a kind of a current project that you're doing. So I wanted to talk about that. Then you briefly mentioned maximizing brand deal revenue. And essentially increasing your earnings without increasing your workload a ton. That's kind of like what I wanted to talk about. Then also preparing for future product lines, right? So you mentioned a CPG brand, which is a consumer packaged good, which is an acronym that I had to learn, which is wonderful. And then also you mentioned kind of removing yourself as like the bottleneck of your business eventually at some point, right? You're loving it right now and you have tons of energy and you're only 19 years old, which is amazing. But eventually someday you kind of want to remove your bottleneck. Got it. My goal, Jenny, is to understand where you're at today and understand your current like business landscape. And then together, I'm hoping, with your permission, we can kind of try to identify some potentially limiting beliefs. And then again, with your permission, maybe potentially reframe them a little bit to try to help unlock some growth and things. Sorry if that's a long intro, but
No,
yeah,
that'd be
sound good?
interesting. No,
Wonderful.
no, this all sounds good. Let's jump right in.
I love it. Beautiful. Cool. So tell me about scaling beyond YouTube Shorts to other platforms. So on your website you have 8.5 million subscribers on YouTube, but about 150,000 on Instagram and other platforms. Tell me about that. I'd love to hear as much information as I can.
Yeah, so this might um like bleed in a bit into point number 2, which is like maximizing revenue without maximizing workload. Those kind of go in hand, where I found that you can maximize your revenue without maximizing workload. Like one of the easiest ways is by cross-posting your brand deals. So a brand pays me to create a YouTube short, and by telling them, hey, for an extra X amount, I can post it onto Instagram and TikTok, or we could do whatever else there is. And that is such an easy way to get extra income. But the only issue is right now I'm a bit smaller on those platforms. So it's not really an ability that I currently have, which is why I want to continue building my personal brand, not specifically by creating content that will do well for Instagram and TikTok, rather creating content that will perform well anywhere, but also build my personal brand to the point where it doesn't matter where I am, people are going to try to find me. So that is the vein that I'm thinking about.
Got it. Interesting. Okay, let me make sure I understand fully what you just said. So basically, you think that you're excited by the direct revenue generation opportunity of like cross posting, right? Basically, if you had a larger following on Instagram, TikTok, and all these other platforms, you could then directly say in your brand deals, "Hey, I can cross post this for an upsell, and like actually generate more revenue." That is the ROI play there, correct?
That is, yeah, the easiest way, but also naturally you get more brand deals when you're bigger.
Got it. Okay, cool. Wonderful. So that makes a lot of sense. So there's a direct financial play, but then also just like the what is it called? The ecosystem. The your ecosystem will be larger because you'll be tapping into people that primarily use those other platforms. That makes a lot of sense. Cool. So what have you done so far to make progress towards, building systems around consistently posting to other platforms, either cross posting or creating original content, those types of things?
Yeah, so I'm still in the experimental phase. So, um, I have tried creating, or I mentioned this strategy because this is what I tried and it hasn't really been as successful. I tried creating content that just works for all platforms, but the issue is your avatar is super important. You need to know who your target viewer is and you need to speak to them. And on YouTube, I have a very specific target viewer, which is an 8 to 12-year-old kid who's bored at home and wants ways to have fun at home. And, that is my YouTube content. Now, that is not the same avatar as someone who's on TikTok and Instagram. There aren't even kids on Instagram. It's actually crazy. I don't even think 8 to 12-year-olds have Instagram downloaded. So, I have even though I have been trying to, age up the content, like, I've had videos where I tried to age it up so it could do well on the other platforms, which it does, but then now you're not resonating with your actual with the biggest audience. So, ultimately, what it came down to me the new experiment, instead of just making, general content, 'cause you're now I'm resonating with no one. By trying to resonate with everyone, you resonate with no one. What I'm going to experiment with is treating the YouTube channel as a show, and then having, the other platforms as the behind the scenes and inside look of my life, which may include, things from the videos.
Interesting. I love that. Okay, cool. So the YouTube is going to be your central platform, your central pillar kind of content, and then the other platforms might act as behind the scenes stuff. Where did you find that? Where did you adopt that strategy? Where did you hear those ideas from? Do you mind if I ask? Or
Uh,
and if that's too if that's
I think
invasive,
no, it
that's
just
okay.
came in my head, honestly. I kinda just came up with it. Um, but also it's 'cause I just scroll through 'cause I watch all the platforms just so I can, like, understand everything, and just by naturally scrolling on those other platforms, I kinda get a vibe for
Yeah.
what people are doing. There's not a specific creator I have in mind, but, that's kind of the vibe that I was getting.
I love that. I think that's really cool. Like that's what a tactical operator really does, right? You have to understand the landscape of the new platform and really absorb as much as possible before you're going to have any success on it. I think that's really cool. I have a question, Jenny, and I hope it doesn't sound like a judgment, but and if it does, please
No,
clarify.
I'm
I'd be like,
curious, I'm curious.
wonderful. I'm wondering much of your content is about frugality, right? It's about like
Mhm.
here's a tactic for saving money, right? I think that those messages are so important, right? Like those messages are so important. Most Americans do not have enough money to for an emergency, right? Most people do not save much money at all, and like I think that there's a cost of living crisis in our country. Frugality is extremely important. That said, I'm wondering if you think that your thoughts about frugality and the way frugality plays a role in your identity. I'm wondering if you think that that might be affecting your business in certain ways. Have you ever contended with some of those ideas? And I hope that that's okay for me to say, and you're not like mad at me.
Yeah, no, 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 that's a great question. I actually think it's helping my business because I would say originally it was hurting my business because I would just get horrible hires or get really cheap things and then it was like I was spending money on things I wasn't using because it was bad or the editors were low quality. And then I had a period where I was at the opposite, where I was like paying premium for the best things, best editors, and my profit margins were so ugly and I was mentally like very stressed. So I ended up finding a good balance between, and to some extent, maybe it could, but I'm actually glad that I really don't spend money on, like, producing the videos. Like, I'm not spending any money on my business, which I guess could be seen as a bad thing, but I feel like because I'm trying to build my personal brand, there's not much. I don't even know what to spend, and I don't just wanna spend to spend.
No, and that, you know what? I love that. I love that. I think that that takes you like humility to admit that, right? Like you have so much success, right? And to say like that's such like a wonderful thing to admit. Like I think that like I don't know what to spend money on, and that's such
Yeah.
a wonderful question to identify, right? Like where do I reinvest this stuff? I'm trying not to be rude or judgmental, but in your interview that you completed when you came on for your prep for your pre-production, um, there was a line in there that said something about like this is not the type of business where I need to reinvest the profits, and I have not had nearly the success that you have had at all whatsoever. But I do think that you know, whatever business coach you were talking to, MBA type person, I think that their opinion would probably be something like every business has opportunities for reinvestment, right? And so potentially maybe exploring those thoughts of like if I were to put in like $1 million into this business like tomorrow, right? Like where would that money have to go? Not saying that you should do that. I'm not saying like, oh, hey, take on as much risk as possible because that's bad. Don't do that, right? You want to make a long-term sustainable venture, but like at the same time, I think that from the intake that we've done, like it seems that you do have some big areas that investment could really truly help you. And I think expanding to these other platforms might be something where like if you have the resources, that's a wonderful asset that you could use to solve these problems, I think. So I guess my question is like maybe we don't talk about hard figures, but if you were to spend a significant amount of money to maybe not a significant, a decent amount to help this problem of scaling beyond YouTube Shorts to other platforms, how would you kind of invest that money? And I know you probably have a little
Oh,
bit
I'm actually
already.
working on that right now.
Beautiful. Let's hear about it. What are you doing?
Yeah, so, what I'm currently working on is finding a I believe I'm just getting familiar with it because this is, like, very new to me, but, a social media manager, which is at least what I'm looking for. I'm not sure if this is the exact role, but I'm looking for someone who, can watch the YouTube Shorts and identify maybe certain behind the scenes elements or things that could be interesting that I should capture, or even like finding the trends and telling me how I can incorporate it, or telling me basically literally someone who is a master at Instagram, because right now my priority is Instagram. TikTok's a little bit shaky right now, I'm not gonna lie. Like an Instagram master to tell me what to do, which shorts should get reposted, and help me build that brand. Um, that's what I'm looking for.
I love that. I think that's great. I think that's great. So let's say you have that person. Let's say you find your Instagram ninja, right?
Yes,
Um
Instagram ninja. That's what I'm looking for.
No, that should be the name of the job title. Let me second.
That is
um
really cool.
Most of the time, supporting a creator on YouTube feels a little bit like charity. But right now, for just $5 a month, you could get access to this community, which might actually help you change your life. This whole show is funded by Patreon. Every single dollar from the Patreon right now goes directly to the talented editors that help bring this show to life. Their names are Michael and Carla, and they're fucking cool. You're joining a community that helps you level up in your business, your relationships, your career, or whatever problem that you're facing. And in there are twice monthly calls where you'll get one-on-one feedback from me and constant support from people in the community that have already solved the problems that you're facing. And you get it all for $5 a month. You get real-time help, faster progress, and a shot at actually solving the thing that's right now keeping you stuck. But guys, please don't just take my word for it. Here's what some of the people in the community have said.
I really enjoy the show, and obviously we've become friends since Patreon, and yeah, it's just a good thing to be involved in. I'm enjoying it.
I really liked the last kind of documentary that you did.
You regret it.
And I wanted to be friends with you. That was
Hell yeah.
I wanted to be
Sick.
friends.
Right now, it's just $5 a month, and you get the Discord, you get the calls, you get a direct line to me, you get a text message line where you can text me at any time. You also get access to like my book club recommendations called my Influence Index, which is a book club, but it's also like documentaries and YouTube creators that I like, and I write blog posts about them, and you get that every week, which is pretty cool. You get early access to videos and stuff. You also get just like a bunch of other shit. And we could do calls and stuff if you want to do that. And if you join right now, the honest truth is that you just get a lot more of my time while the community is small, right? I don't think this community is going to be super small for very long. So if you want a lot of my time, you might as well join right now. That's just a fact. If you want to join, head on over to patreon.com/Noah Chrysler. It starts at $5, but if you join a higher tier, you get extra perks, future bonuses, other cool stuff, and you get on this damn wall. Guys, also, if you're liking this video, post in the comments and let me know. And like this video. That's pretty cool. I like it when people like the video. That's sick. Guys, subscribing to this channel is also free, and you can always unsubscribe later. And now, guys, back to the show.
So cool. You find your Instagram ninja. Then how do they, what if you just, I know that you probably haven't, this is an in-depth question, but if you had to guess, how would they play a role in your business? What would they be doing? What would your workflow with them kind of look like? Would they send you a weekly doc with like, hey, here's some ideas that you should film, that sort of thing? What do you expect that relationship to look like?
Yeah, so I actually have an Instagram strategy in mind already. So them being the ninja, I would love to just go through with them just so they understand my brand, where I'm trying to build to, and then maybe even help me optimize it further. That would be the first thing. And then from there, what would be ideal, beginning of the week, they tell me, hey, these are all the videos that you're going to be posting this week, where you're going to do 3 videos a day. Video 1's going to be a carousel, take pictures of this, and that. The next video is going to be you doing a take on a trend. You're going to have to do this visual, and then we're going to have text on screen that does this. And then the next video is going to be a vlog, let's just say, and they do the editing and everything. Just go to the store, show what you bought for the video, let's just say. And then send me all the footage. I will edit it and upload it for you. Like that's what I'm looking for.
Awesome. I love that. That is amazing. And it seems like I had many thoughts about this, but it seems like you are already working on this problem and you have a clear vision for the future. And so we should spend our time working on other problems, I think, because that is wonderful. And it seems like you're like locked in and you've got a vision, and that's wonderful.
I just gotta find the ninja.
Yes, you do. Now, I will say one thing that you mentioned about that. By the way, I think a big thing of strategy too is like people are like, I think that people confuse strategy with just like working harder, right? Like, and it's like nope. Strategy. I believe strategy is about doing one thing at a time and prioritizing things in the right order, right? And trying to, like, for a quarter, focus on mastering Instagram, right? Or potentially longer if that's what you need, right? But I think that one thing that I've seen business owners do that leads to problems is they prioritize everything, right? They're like, I'm going to focus on brand deals, and I'm also going to focus on Instagram growth, and I'm also going to focus on making my own products, and I'm also going to do this at the same time. And it's like, do it one quarter at a time to make sure that your Instagram stuff is on like a solid foundational bedrock before you move onto these other projects. Because when I start, I have ADHD, and when I start 10 projects at once, they all blow up in my face at the same time. So that's not good.
I tend to do that.
Yeah, it's tough. So I love this. It seems like you're making progress on this, and that's wonderful and beautiful. I will say, the last thing that I will say before we move off of this is you mentioned that Instagram strategist, that content strategist, it sounds like they have a dual role. It's pre-production, kind of like helping you with brand strategy, then sending you what you should execute on. But then it's also post-production, right? It's editing. I think what might happen is you might have more difficulty finding a person who's going to be very skilled at both the pre-production side and the post-production side. So one way that you could potentially handle that situation would be to find somebody, just look for the strategist, because that person's going to be like very, very difficult to find, and you need somebody with a really high skill set. But then you could potentially empower them with another hire, right? And maybe it's a part-time hire, like a post-production person that they kind of manage, so that way they can give you, they can tell you what to do.
Yeah, I think I should give them the option to actually find that person and give them a budget.
I love that. That's so cool.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Absolutely. And then you're like the general in the army, and then you have like your commander, and they have like a downline of like,
yes.
I don't know. I love it. Cool. Beautiful. Sweet. Let's move on to the next thing. I want to talk about maximizing brand deal revenue without increasing workload. I want to currently understand, here are some things that you said about this in your intake. Logical step is to do brand outreach. Logical next step is to do brand outreach. I'm assuming that means you have a lot of inbound deals right now, which is wonderful. You're potentially considering doing outbound deals. Is that kind of what you're describing here or not?
Yes, yes. So I've been reaching out to brands, but I've only been getting free products. But I think it's because I'm half in it and don't have a dedicated person who is creating these opportunities. And I've had right now, actually, I'm not sure if you were finished yet, but I have some options for 2 agencies who can do this for me. So I'm considering doing that. I can still keep the money that's coming inbound, but I would just get extra money and they take a cut from what they're doing outbound. So I'm considering probably that, but I don't even know if that's the the full next logical step because the best thing to get brand deals is just to expand. Like if I get a million followers, an extra million followers on Instagram, now it's it's a higher chance that they recognize me. So, um,
Sure. Sure. No,
I
that
don't
makes
know. There's
sense.
lots of routes.
That makes a lot of sense. So I want you to know that I've prepared a lot for this conversation, and so I really deeply thought about this. And
Oh, okay. I'm
so
excited.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, without sounding like a loser, like you have 8.5 billion subscribers, and I'm like, I really can't mess up this conversation. So I prepared a lot, but hopefully I didn't over prepare.
Okay.
um, here's how I think about this. When I prioritize my own prioritization of your stuff was you. I would personally, I really thought about it, and I empathize with you. I would solve this problem. I would prioritize solving this problem first before I did the multi-platform stuff, just because this
Interesting.
is this is a direct revenue generation opportunity for your business, right? And if you lock this down, right, it said something like, I don't. We can cut this if you want. It said, you said that about 50% of your revenue right now is generated from brand deals, right? Meaning that
Yes.
it's probably your biggest revenue generation opportunity, right? And right now you mentioned that there are kind of like some issues with it, right? And I'm thinking to myself, if you solved this problem in a way where you could take this right now that kind of feels like it's on shaky ground a little bit and you could master it, right? You could master by bringing in the right person, creating the right system, you could master this so that it's a huge asset to your business, right? You could have the right person kind of create brand packages, brand deals that are consistent, right? And then they can do a sales and marketing strategy for you, to lock these things down, which will generate a huge revenue generation machine for your business. Then you can reinvest those profits into hiring that commander in your army if you're the general, right?
No, I think
Then
you make a ton of sense. Definitely. Um, what did you have in mind as far as like? I think I put some solutions, but what were you thinking?
yeah, by the way, other things that you said, I like having control over my brand and I don't want to take whatever deal comes in. I want you to understand that I'm not asking you to compromise that, right? Like
Oh, for sure.
that's the most important thing, right? Like the well-being and the value that you're giving to the audience, that's amazing. My thought is this is that you find, I think that those 2 agencies extremely wonderful. Like, probably find the best partner possible, right? And then if it were me, I would focus on no long-term contract. And if they're uncomfortable with that, be like, hey, I understand that you're uncomfortable with that, but like this is deeply important to me and you do not understand how important control over my brand is, right? So I'm not going to sign a 10-year deal with you. Maybe I'll sign a 6-month deal and then we can renew it on a 6-month basis, but I'm not going to sign this crazy deal. And also, I have the right to turn down any opportunity I want to because, like, I'm not a sellout and I'm not going to just devalue my brand because you tell me to because of some piece of paper that we signed, right? That would be awful. So I would focus on doing like short-term contract with people who you believe are really good at this and test out a few maybe, right? Like, find one that fits really well. I would say go with that option for now because if you were to do this internally, it would require a lot of effort and infrastructure as a business project, right? So if you were to hire somebody internally to manage these for you, I think that person would have to either be really good and like have a lot of experience building those types of things, or it might go badly. So yeah, so the way I would handle it would be exactly what you're describing.
I have a question for you now.
Absolutely.
This is a tricky one.
Sure.
So, these two agencies are great and proven, but for them to do outbound, I don't know the exact terms, but I believe it seems as though I can only pick one. Um, and what's really interesting is there's one that is more proven like in the creator economy, but they have like 300 clients. So they're going to be pitching a whole bunch of people, and it's not just me. Um and then on the flip side, the other one is a new agency that it was a guy who was part of a very successful agency, but now he's starting his new one. And I would be the only person he is doing this for. However, he does not have the connections that the other one has. So it's like, what's better? The one that has the connections, but you are not their priority, or the person who doesn't have the connections, but you are their priority? It's
I
like, that
love
is
that.
interesting.
I love that. No, but I love that so much. Some random thoughts on this, but and maybe what I'm suggesting is not possible, okay? And that's a very realistic possibility. But it seems like I've noticed that some people, when they come to forks in the road, right, when they come to decisions, they create binaries, right? Do I go with this big one, or do I go with the small one, right? And that makes logical sense because you're looking at two right now, right? But like there's probably I love to negotiate, right? Like when I go and I get a new apartment, right? I love to go get all of the offers, and then I start pinning them against each other. And I say, hey, this guy's going to give me a month free. Like, can you guys give me a month free? And see what they say, right? And so I try to kind of change the battleground that we're on, right? And so what I would do is I would say like, hey, it honestly, because I'm a small business guy and I love that. My dad runs a small business. I love this one guy who he's got his own special sauce and he's like going to give it his own shot, right? So I personally would probably say, "Hey man, I believe in what you're doing. I like you as a dude and you seem really cool, and it would be really cool if like you were my main brand partner and you were just like my ninja for brand partnership, right? So let's try this, but I don't want to create a long-term contract where I'm locked in with you because Jenny, like
It's
you
month to
have
month. They're
got
offering
it.
month to month. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's probably where I would start is with that guy. And
That's
just
what I'm leaning towards because it
yeah,
makes more sense. Even if they don't have the connections, if they're willing to give it their all, it I mean, maybe, you know?
yeah. Yeah. And what's the downside? What's the downside, right? Sign with them for a couple months and then
Yeah.
if you hate it, then get out and then go
The
with somebody
downside
else.
is I said no to the other one or well, at least temporarily. Hopefully
Yeah.
they don't hate me for
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, and I don't think they will, Jenny. I think that might be like that Jenny, what you have accomplished at 19 years old is like absolutely insane. And I hope that you don't take that as patronizing, like, oh, you're really like, no,
No,
it's
no, thank you.
amazing. Absolutely, it's amazing. But like, they are not going to hate you, right? Just be as honest as possible and be like, hey, you know what? I really appreciate this, but I think that right now for my business, I'm going to try something else briefly. But
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to hate that at all. I think they're going to respect you more, right? And or at least I would if I worked there. I would respect you more for being like, hey, I'm going to try this other thing first, before I sign with a big thing. Because those big agencies, I don't trust them. I really don't. Like, and maybe that's not a good thing to say about a potential brand partner, but like, I don't know. I've heard a lot of stories. I love YouTube and I've watched YouTubers for years, and there are many YouTubers that I've watched where they're like, "Hey, this agency was not the best." And so I think that creators should be very skeptical of that. But yeah, I don't know. I love that you've
Awesome. No,
already
this is great.
wonderful. I love that you've already solved this problem too. You're so cool. I love
Oh,
the whole
thank you.
business. Absolutely. Cool. Beautiful. I hope I'm not talking too much. I just get so excited and this is
No, no,
so
no, no.
cool.
This is great. This is great. This is perfect. This is very insightful. This is an incredible show. I'm excited to move on to the next thing.
Here we go. Sweet. Okay. At some point, you want to start a CPG brand, a consumer packaged good. I'm assuming something like Mr. Beast Bar or something like Joyride. Is that some potential inspiration or Feastables?
Yes, so I have a I don't wanna say exactly what it is because I'm still trying to get the patent. I haven't gotten the patent yet. It's such a good
Yes.
name, so I can't
Wonderful.
say
Don't
yet or
say it.
what the
Don't say it.
product is.
Say
But
it.
I will say the direction of it, like
Okay.
the vision, the mission. Um, so the vision of the product is it'll be a health product. So it'll be a healthy food item. And, the idea around that is to help the kids eat healthier. So I do a lot of, content on frugal living, right? But recently, I'm not sure if you've seen my recent content, it's been, around food to see what the interest is, and there's a lot of interest around, food, and there's definitely and when I say food, I mean cooking at home, sorry, because when you cook at home, you save money. So I've been trying to incorporate that, and, I wanted to gauge that with the viewers, and I wanna start gauging where they're at as far as, like, healthy living, and, I'm not sure if it resonates well with my audience, but, like, as far as, like, my dream, I would love to help kids, make better choices with their money, but also their health, and that's what I'm trying to do with cooking. Because cooking, you save money, but you also eat healthier. Just so you have context on that, because I don't know if I put
I
that
love
there.
that. I think that that's wonderful. I think that that's so wonderful. Can I share some thoughts around that really quick?
Yes.
Wonderful. Um, I think that you should sit down and maybe you've already done this, but I think that you should get very clear about what you are unwilling to compromise on, right? Because right now, it's going to be very clear to you before there are other people involved in this product that are going to encourage you to compromise your values, right? Because this industry of consumer packaged goods is about like, hey, we know that we're trying to make something healthy, but like it's way cheaper if we fill it with sugar. And also, it will, if we fill it with preservatives, it'll sit on the shelf for longer, which will directly raise our profits, right? And nobody wants to do that at the beginning, right? Nobody wants to do that at the beginning. But when they start to scale up, right? Like if you look at Feastables, right? Feastables started with like, 100% exclusively the best ingredients and sourced locally and low sugar content, and we're making dark chocolate. And then they did a bunch of market research, right? And then it's like, okay, shit, most of the kids that eat this candy don't like dark chocolate very much. And like it also like, we're trying to achieve scale. And so, they started to compromise on some of that stuff. And I don't know exactly
No,
what.
it is sad. It is
Yeah.
saddening.
Yeah, and that happens very frequently with everything. If you look at Joyride too, like a lot of Joyride was, I believe it started very, very much like, organic ingredients, and maybe it still is, but I think that they are also starting to compromise on their product and for scalability and for shelf life and for palate, right? Because people love sugar. Sugar's the best. So
Unfortunately.
yeah, no, exactly. It's poison. It's killing you, but you're selling to kids, so it's like, like they need to like it. So I guess one thing that I would think about is what am I unwilling to compromise on, right? Because if you can get really clear on that, I think that will provide you long-term direction for the future. Any thoughts on that? What are your thoughts there?
I've been, thinking about that myself because I did some brief research, and this isn't something I'm gonna launch, anytime soon. This will probably be, I mean, it takes a long time to make this. This is probably a project that I'll release in 3 years, to be honest. But I
Wonderful.
did some brief market research on, the product and what my favorite version of the product is, and, it is tough 'cause, the same thing that you were saying, like, I tried, like, a bunch of different versions of the product where, if it doesn't have sugar, it's healthy, but then it's like, it doesn't taste good, but you can't have sugar, but it's like, there's so many different things, so I'm still trying to figure that out myself because me personally, I have a very strict diet where in the ideal world, I would want it to be a product that is so good that I would eat, but I don't even think that, it could get to that point considering people's, palates, and when I say my diet, I mean, I have a paleo diet, which basically means you eat, like, the Paleolithic times, which means I don't even buy snacks. In other words, like, I only get fresh produce, things that go bad in, like, 1 to 2 days, which is meats and veggies and fruits. So it's like, oh, like, you can't like, creating a product that I would eat is a crazy expectation, so I'm trying to figure it out. Um, and yeah, no, it's definitely tough. What I'm trying to do is model off of my favorite version of the product that is, like, a very healthy, I'm probably just going to do a healthier alternative similar to like Joyride, where it's like not necessarily Joyride's not healthy, but it's healthier. Still trying to figure it out, but I like that you mentioned that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that I remember now some of your like we spoke briefly about some of your dietary restrictions and things, and which by the way I think is like really cool because like it gives you a unique perspective on like dietitian stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
on food and nutrition, which is wonderful. Which if for online influence, like that's exactly what you need is you need a unique lens, you need a unique story to help you make something that's distinctly different than what's already in the market. So I think that that's actually a huge asset, right? And it also is reflective in Mr. Beast, right? Who has, I think he has Crohn's disease, right? Which like,
Yeah.
I think deeply affects the way he thinks about food and stuff. So I think that that is actually in some ways a huge asset, because it gives,
100%. It's
yeah,
part of the story. Because I've suffered so many issues because I had bad eating habits, and I don't want others to suffer that as well. Because a lot of the issues that I have, it, it could be genetic, but I could have also done it to myself. And because apparently, like with medicine, we don't like fully know everything, but there are studies that show that like obviously what you eat does affect it. It kills your gut, which is why like now, in other words, I can't digest anything for the viewers. Like I can barely I don't have the digestive enzymes to eat really any food except meat. I can't even digest vegetables or fruits. Most fruits actually I can't. Like it doesn't just when I say I can't digest it, I mean nothing goes through my system because
wow,
I can go forever without using the bathroom, in other words, because
wow,
my food just doesn't digest. It just gets stuck in my intense intestines.
yeah.
It's terrible.
That
Yeah.
sounds awful. I'm really sorry about that. That sounds really terrible. What a
Yeah.
nightmare. Oh
Yeah, I
gosh.
just have a bunch of laxatives.
Sure. No, for sure. Oh man, I'm so sorry that you deal with that. I've had some family members have similar, and it's like a pain in the ass. And like I've never. Oh god, never mind. Maybe bad framing.
No, that's really funny.
Guys, if you would like to be my next guest on Chasing Dragons, go ahead and apply in the description down below. There's a Google form down there where you can tell me a little bit about your business and why you think you would be a good guest.
Cool. Okay. You don't want to launch something that feels inauthentic. You're going to do it in 3 years. I think that that's wonderful. I think that okay, there was one red flag in your pre-interview intake that I saw that, can I
Oh,
bring it up?
yes.
Um, I'm working on scaling my brand further until the audience asks me for it, rather than launching without demand. I think
Yes.
that that might be a false binary. I know that I don't just take my word for it, but
Interesting.
like I don't think an audience is ever going to in earnest, and maybe I'm wrong about this, by the way. I don't know but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I don't know if your audience is ever going to unanimously say, "Hey, Jenny, we really want you to release this type of T-shirt." Like I don't think that they're going to have a universal call for that, right? I usually think that creativity in business works the other way, where it's like I'm the master, I'm the
Yeah.
scientist in the workshop, right? And I've created the Model T, right? And I'm Henry Ford, and here's why you need your Model T because if you ask the people what they want, they would say, "I want a faster horse," and they're like, "No, no, like what you really want is a Model
You know,
T."
you might be right. The way I was thinking about it, and maybe it doesn't apply to my niche. I was thinking about it in the aspect like I have a friend who does content on like for teenage males on looking more attractive, getting more clean, best perfumes and all those different things. And he made several videos on like different natural things you can like do to make your hair look better. And he would like make all these different concoctions and homemade things, and people were like, I'm not going to go out of my way and buy all those separate ingredients. Just sell like your whatever your invention is already made. um and his product is crushing it. But the exception is his type of content is naturally geared towards doing something like that. um so I was hoping that by making a lot more recipe videos, like health foods that are actually good, without making it how do I explain it? The central idea won't be let's make a healthy whatever it is. I'm just gonna make a healthy food. I'm just gonna make it. I'm not even gonna mention it's healthy. I'm just gonna make a food that looks good that just so happens to be healthy. And I was hoping that people would eventually be like, oh, like, I'm not gonna go out of my way and cook all that. Can you just, like, sell that already made?
I love that. You're
That's
making
what I was thinking.
HelloFresh. I love that meal prep kit. Love that so
That's
much.
what I thought
That's
about too. I have different routes. I have one specific food I have in mind, but, like, yeah, there's lots of different things I was thinking about. I even thought about this sounds crazy. At one point, I thought, like, could you imagine if I opened a bakery and people would just, like, come and get it? Like, there's so many different routes,
yeah.
so
I
many
I
different
think that's really cool. I probably wouldn't do brick and mortar in 2025 just because
Oh,
it
yeah, I
limits.
wouldn't e
Yeah, I don't know, but like, and it just adds a lot of problems, right? Like, it's like, oh my god, like, I don't know, if you look at Dobrik's or whatever, like, you could probably do a
Yeah.
case study there. Like, I don't know, it just seems like a zoo, and then you have to manage a staff, and it's like,
Oh,
gosh,
no,
like,
it's terrible.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I love that you're thinking about it. Like, of course, like, yes, that's wonderful. I think that's so cool. But yeah, I think that my overall takeaway was just, it's like, I think like trust yourself. Trust yourself. Like, like don't wait for the audience to tell you the right path, right? Like, you don't do that with the rest of your content. You don't do that with the rest of your business, right?
Yeah, you're right. Okay,
Yeah.
after I get the patent secured, which it's just gonna take another 9 months probably.
Totally
I'm
cool.
I'm I'm doing it. I'm working on it after I get the patent.
Sick. Sick. And also, by the way, maybe like rushing it is not the right thing either, right? Like, because I think that these other two things, I think that when you said you were going to do this in 3 years, I think that's really good, right? Because like the first thing that you should do, um, sorry, don't take my word for it. Do what you want. It's your business. You have a lot of success,
No,
but
but
like,
this is great.
I think locking down those like that brand stuff, right? So that you can really lock down the financial mechanisms of your business that are instantly scalable right now, right? I would focus on that. Then I would focus on dominating every platform. And then once you've done that, then I would then potentially consider something like a brick and mortar if you want to do that, or your product that's hopefully a little bit more scalable than a brick and mortar. Um, but it sounds like you've already thought so much about that, and that's so cool because like I don't know. Sometimes I talk to business owners and they're like, "Oh, like I someday I want to do this," and they haven't thought about it at all. And it's like, "Oh, I want to shake you." Like what? Like like get specific. Like I don't know, what does it look like? And you have, so that's wonderful. Cool. Last one is just the yourself as the bottleneck of your business, right? So I want to talk to you about this. And I know that this probably we've got 10 more minutes left too, and in the last 5 minutes, I want to focus on summarizing what we've talked about.
Yeah.
So let's do that. So we can be on this for about 6 minutes or so, or 5 minutes. Cool. Tell me about you being the bottleneck of your business. What your thoughts and feelings are around that.
Yeah, it's just something that I've identified. I'm not necessarily sure if it's a huge issue. I personally don't mind being a bottleneck, and what I mean by that is, um, if we need to make a video, it needs to be me filming it. If I'm feeling sick, I can't film it. If I'm or sometimes I need to be the one that's in the meeting because they want to talk with me, or I need to do whatever it is, and then that takes away time from filming. But then also because I have my creative taste and style, like I need to be the one that's going through the edits or like um the biggest thing is just my face, like, not being able to be everywhere all at once, and I have to say no to a lot of opportunities where, involves me traveling because then it's like or sometimes I'll get opportunities where it's like there's 2 different events happening in different places, like, that I would say it gets, annoying. I don't fully mind it right now, but I can see it becoming an issue as I get older and right now I'm working all the entire day, but as I get older and I'm drained or I don't want to do it the entire day or I have a family, like it's gonna be tough. So I have considered, and this is like a 10-year thing. I have considered eventually when I do feel that like I I cannot be the bottleneck anymore, potentially turning it into a media company that is different faces and different people. Um
Yeah, where you
and
kind of
ma-
platform some
yeah.
hosts and guests and things. Yeah,
Yeah, not necessarily something that I'm gonna do anytime soon,
sure.
but it's an issue I've identified and I have a solution for if I ever decide that I want to
Wonderful.
fix it.
Um, we because we don't have much time, I want to just give you as much value as possible. Normally I would do like guided lines of questioning to like but because we have about five
Okay, yeah.
minutes, I think, do you mind if I just like fire some ideas
Go
at you?
for it.
Wonderful. I think that one area that might help you is writing about like, here is quite literally the things that cannot be done without me, right? My father runs a shop, and he runs an auto repair shop, and I tell him, it's like, Dad, if you couldn't go in tomorrow, right? Like if you got hit by a bus today and your business had to keep moving, right? Like what are the things that you for sure that you know for a fact, like a good fact, like you've tried 10 things, right? To make sure to try to remove that responsibility from you. What are the things that you absolutely for sure have to do in your business? For my father, in my opinion, the only thing my father must do is receive the check for the profits, right? I think that is like the only thing he needs to do. That's not true for your business. You are the face of your brand. I'm not saying that that's you, but I'm saying that you've mentioned to me that you are managing brand partnerships right now. You've mentioned to me that you are in multiple meetings with people who want to talk to you because they want to talk to the person in charge, right? Which I understand. That said, maybe they don't have to be talking to you, right? Maybe they would want to be talking to you, but maybe they don't have to be, right? You've said as well that I think editing, post-production, right? You are deeply involved with all of the post-production stuff, which, by the way, these things, your high level of involvement and your high level of engagement, I believe, is what has made you a master at this, and B, has led to all of your success, right? Like your high degree of control has been a huge asset up to this point in your business, right? It has led to 8 million subscribers, which is unheard ofly amazing at 19. That's amazing.
Thank
So that level of control is amazing. That said, I think what's going to bring you to the next level is trying to identify areas where you could put in commanders, right? I'm the general in the army and I need commanders, right? I need a business partner that can do these business meetings for me that I trust with my whole soul. And I have taken every opportunity to spell out quite literally all of my thoughts so that even if I'm not in that room, they know what I would say, right? They know what I would say for me and they can say it, right? They're not a clone of me, but they understand my perspective, they understand my incentives, and they understand what my goals are for my business, right? And you can send that general. I'm sorry, I guess they'd be the commander because you're the general. I don't know
Yes.
anything about the military.
Oh, neither do I. But
Wonderful.
I'm getting the vision.
Wonderful. Yeah, you could send that person to do those business meetings. Same thing with post-production, right? The more, I'm not saying to compromise on quality. I'm saying to build a system that allows you to not have to compromise on quality, right? Maybe you're doing the final review. Maybe in the beginning you're working with the editors and training them and making sure they fully understand everything and making SOPs that do that.
Yeah.
And then maybe after that, there's a stage where you're just doing final review of their work, right? And
Yeah,
then
I've thought about that. Because I used to have someone who was like a commander, I guess you would say, with this side of the business, and it completely backfired on me. Um,
I'm sorry to
just
hear that.
because, just because they were taking shots as general.
Got it. Got it. Yep.
But not to say that everyone is gonna be like that, but I've been thinking about it, like, even though it didn't work out with that person, maybe there's a world where, there is a better commander, which I've thought about, but that's actually it's gonna be tough to find, but I completely agree. I think that would be game changing for the business. I just need to
It,
find the right person.
Jenny, here's the other thing is that I think that because this might have happened so fast, your life probably feels a little bit like a whirlwind. Does it feel like a little bit like a whirlwind?
Oh, it does because it did happen so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that like one you've mentioned that you've done a deal like this in the past that went south, right? That's probably like a very traumatic experience, right? Which
Yeah.
might like, and I'm sorry, like that. I'm so sorry that you went through that. It sounds like a nightmare, right? To lose control and have somebody make decisions that they have no right to make. That sounds like a nightmare, right? But maybe potentially, I'm guessing, maybe that potential traumatic experience has led you to not try to solve this problem again like that because of like things like fear of like shit. Maybe it'll happen again, right? But I think that I think those types of fears stop us from thinking through these types of problems. Another thing that I think that you might be underestimating is your potential reach to the labor market that is present in the United States. You have a brand right now that is growing at a rate that is so quick that you are a very, very, very attractive employer. Like you just are. Like, you're in the spotlight. You like there are people who would climb over themselves to work for you and with you, and they would love to be your commander, right? And so if
Oh,
you
yeah, I'm sure actually, yeah.
yeah. So if you put together explicitly and precisely what you needed and wanted, right? You could find like someone who you deeply trust, right? I had a professor in college who used to call him a GSP. You need a good, smart person, right? And good is not just like a random descriptor. No, good, ethically good, a moral person. You need somebody who is a good person, right? And you need
Yes.
to gather evidence that makes you believe this is a good person, right? Whatever that might be to you, right? Smart person. Have they produced similar things in the past, right? These are all hiring things that I'm sure that you are familiar with after hiring other people. But yeah, I don't know. We are at the end of our time, and I do not want to go over. Jenny, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I loved this conversation. What did you think? What are your general impressions?
This is an amazing conversation, very insightful. Lots of actionables for me. This is super exciting. Oh my goodness. This is great. I mean, I'm excited to I'm excited for others to do this because this is going to be super impactful for their business. And it helps them open up a lot of new thoughts. So thank you so much for having me. For
Absolutely.
the
Can I
audience members. Oh yeah, yeah.
uh,
I
let
wanted
me let me summarize some of the things that we talked about just so that they're
Okay,
they're
cool.
easy. And is it okay if we go over by like 2 minutes? Is that
Oh
okay?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so
yeah.
sorry.
Let's do it.
Wonderful. Cool. So we talked about again the four things that we talked about were um one, it was scaling beyond YouTube Shorts, right? You seem to have a system for that. You're already working on that problem. I think that that's going to involve a pre-production person with a commander underneath them, right? For the execution of the editing, right? You mentioned giving them a budget. I think that that's a beautiful idea. We also talked about maximizing brand deal revenue. It seems like the solution that you're going for with that one is potentially try out this month-to-month guy who has his own agency, right? I would set a very high bar. Hey man, this is your chance. You want to crush it right now. Like,
Yeah.
and see and just try him out and set a time on your calendar, right? Hey, I'm going to set a Google reminder that in 3 months, if this is not, or maybe it's in 1 month or 2 months, right? If this is not working out, I'm going to reevaluate and potentially go with another partner, right? But I think that the way I would also prioritize these is I would do that first. I would focus on that for like an entire quarter of just like making sure this is locked in, right? And then I would do the high level dominate the other platforms play. That's what I would do there. Then three, we talked about your future product line. We talked about how I believe that you should talk about what you are not willing to compromise on, right? As you think about creating a product. You have a bunch of different ideas. I think they're all wonderful. It seems like you're working with wonderful creative strategic partners and you're doing patents and branding for that, which is wonderful. It seems like that's already in motion. But like, don't wait for your audience to tell you, hey, we need a Model T, right? Because they're not going to say that. They're going to say, I want a faster horse, right? You're Henry Ford. You should say, no, you need a Model T, my opinion, because you're already doing that with your creative mastery on YouTube, right? Do that in products too. Cool. And then just lastly, we talked about removing yourself as the bottleneck of your business. One quick metaphor that I don't think we talked about is that I believe good entrepreneurs view their businesses as greenhouses, right? It's not a farmer in a field, it's a farmer making a greenhouse, right? It's its own self-sustaining ecosystem, right? Where the water cycle happens on its own, right? All you're supposed to do is put in the right soil and the right plants and put it in the right location so that the sunlight hits it and the water cycle and the energy builds, and all you're supposed to be doing is adjusting, right? That said, it's different from you because you're the face of the business and you got to film a bunch of stuff, but where can you step back and enable commanders and
Yeah.
things? Beautiful. I believe that's everything. Any thoughts about that stuff? And do you mind if I end with kind of a quick plug about how people can support me and kind of what my vision is for the future?
Yeah, I mean, those are great takeaways. I wanted to ask if I could also plug in if anyone wants to
Yes,
work
yes.
with me.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, go plug away. Plug, plug, plug.
Yeah. So, No, this was an amazing conversation, great takeaways. And if anyone wants to grow on social media, I offer consulting services. So you can email team@jennyhoyos.com. Starting at just $99, you can learn everything it takes to become a creator.
Awesome. Heck yeah, I love that. Nice and clear. Mine's not clear. Mine's a mess. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Cool. I am building a YouTube company. I'm building a media company. Right now, my team and I are working on 2 shows. The first show is called Brain Juice, which is a series of memoirs from my life, talking about the business wisdom and the wisdom in general that I've learned over the years. Right now, we're going through a thing called my failure resume. The next episode of that, I believe, our production schedule, it drops twice a month, and then Chasing Dragons drops 4 times a month. And the other project we're working on is called Chasing Dragons, which was this conversation, right? Basically, it's hopefully the idea is high level business conversations that also involve psychology, right? I think that people's personal feelings about their business, it is always undervalued, right? Like, people are like, oh, business is about business and it's cut and dry and black and white. And it's like, no, 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 no. Business is about feelings and ideas and like, and fears and things and identity. And so let's talk about those things, right? And it's okay to talk about those things. So yeah, I'm building this right now. The main revenue generating mechanism is on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Noah Chrysler, you can support me. There's 3 tiers of support there. There's a $5 tier, a $15 tier, and a $25 tier. We are essentially going to create a mastermind group with everybody in the Patreon community. And that mastermind group is going to be basically geared towards helping you make progress in your life on whatever creative business that you have, or just in general, if you're trying to, become a better person and make your marriage better or make your life better or get fit or do whatever, right? It's a mastermind group to help you improve your life and that. So thank you so much for watching this conversation. And if you could support me over there, that would be absolutely wonderful. If not, I understand, but that'd be wonderful. And Jenny, you have no idea how much I appreciate you coming and having this conversation with me. Thank you so much.
This was amazing. Yeah, thank you for having me.